Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Donovan. This is the #1 F18 smartwatch available right now on GearBest.com. As you can see right here, it's available for just under $50 in 3 different colors, so black, green, and then red. You can see I have the black version, and what attracted me to this watch is the fact that it is a GPS sports smartwatch for under $50. So if you can get a GPS smartwatch for under $50, that is pretty fantastic. And I would say right now the closest competitor to that would be this one right here, the Amazfit Bip, available for right around $60 on GearBest.com. So I'll leave a link down in the description for both of these. And I will say right off the bat that there is no question in my mind that the better buy is 100% the Amazfit Bip, and we'll talk more about that in just a little bit. I just did a video comparison of the Apple Watch Series 3 with the Amazfit Bip. This is a fantastic watch, only $60, does all the same things that this one does for $50, but does it a whole lot better, and we'll talk more about that in just a little bit. So first reason why I'm not a huge fan of the #1 F18 is the size of the watch. So let me just give you a quick comparison. So this is the Amazfit Stratus. This one is a $200 watch, definitely much more functioning than what you get on this. And this one is available for $200, like I mentioned. The TicWatch Pro, so this one has also a lot more functions. You can actually take and make phone calls from this one. This one's $250, but I would say this one is comparable to this one in terms of the size and bulk. And then here is probably one of my favorite smartwatches. This is a $300 smartwatch. This is the Garmin Vivoactive 3 Music Edition, and that one is quite a bit smaller than those. But the one that's probably most comparable to this one, the #1 F18, is the Amazfit Bip in terms of what it can do. $60, $50, but you can see just how much smaller this thing is, a lot lighter on your wrist. And for a GPS smartwatch, something that you're going to run with or cycle with or whatever, it's kind of nice to have something not quite so big and bulky. You can see this one is quite big. So that's the first reason I'm not a huge fan of this. But other than that, we'll talk more about some other things. But the other thing that really I don't like about this watch is the display. So notice that it's kind of hard to see in certain lighting. So when I point it right at my light, notice that it's kind of hard to see. In daylight, this is not a very easy display to see, whereas you can see with the Amazfit Bip, as soon as I turn that into light, it actually is easier to see. So notice that. That's because this has a trans-reflective display, something they should have used on this watch, even if it's only $50, because it's just hard to see in daylight, and that's at the brightest setting, unfortunately. So let's go ahead and take a look at what all this thing can do. So there are 3 buttons here in terms of hardware. You can see we have a heart rate sensor. It does have GPS, GLONASS, and Baidu, so 3 different GPS Global Positioning System satellites built into this, and so for that, it is very accurate. Same thing with the Amazfit Bip. I would say it's equally as accurate as the Bip, which is fantastic for a watch that's only $50. Heart rate sensor, not quite as accurate as the Bip, but still decent. It's not bad. So let's go ahead and go through the functions now. So this middle button is going to take us through our menu. So there's our step counter, and we'll take a look at that in just a little bit. By the way, the step counter is very accurate. Health will bring us into our heart rate sensor. Right now it's not actually going to sense anything because I don't have it on my wrist, but it's good for at the moment, but when you're running, it definitely is not as accurate. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So health, and then we have messages, so that's where we're going to get our notifications. We have compass, so of course that's a compass. Then our exercise, so I want to show you that. So I'll go ahead and hit the select button, which is this top right one. And so the options that we have for exercise is walking, which by the way, walking does not use GPS to my surprise. Running does use GPS. We have climbing, which also uses GPS. And then cycling uses GPS. All the rest are just going to basically go off of your heart rate. So swimming does not use GPS, neither does treadmill, of course, basketball, badminton, and then football or soccer. So those ones do not use GPS. Just the 3 that I mentioned will use the GPS. So I'm going to go ahead and go into, for instance, running. Oops, I did not mean to do that. So let's go back, and I'm going to go back into exercise real quick. So here's our exercise. I'll go ahead and hit select, and we'll go into the next one, which is running, and select it. Okay, so now notice that it's going to try to look for GPS. It's not going to find GPS because we're actually indoors right now, but notice that it's finding 11 satellites at the moment, which is actually pretty good considering I'm indoors. And I will say that, again, this GPS is very accurate, which is surprising for a watch that's only 50 bucks. But again, for 10 more dollars, you get a much better watch. And it also has very accurate GPS, but also has very accurate heart rate, which this one does not, and a better display. So just a couple of things worth mentioning there. So notice it's having a hard time. Outdoors, it didn't have any trouble. I would say within 10 seconds to maybe 20 seconds, it had GPS and I was good to go, and it works just fine. But again, it's hard to see in the bright sunlight, so that's a problem. All right, so let's go out of there. And so those are the activities you can track. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next thing. So then you can switch between 3 watch faces. So I'll go ahead and select that. And you can see this one's going to show you your steps, your calories burned, and your heart rate, and then date and time. And then we'll go ahead and select that one. So that's the one I picked. So then let's go back through our menu. And let's see, what else do we have here? So we have some settings here. We'll go ahead and enter that. So this is just going to test your GPS and GLONASS. We'll go ahead and go through these. So this is going to change your vibration, how strong the vibration is, which is pretty good. We can turn off sound here. And there's our contrast. So this is going to change our brightness. Again, this is, for me personally, it just does not get bright enough. So there's 1, 2, 3. And even at 3 at the brightest setting, it does not get bright enough. And that's a real unfortunate thing for something you're supposed to use for activities. So that would be probably my biggest complaint about the watch. So that's it. That's pretty much everything you see on the watch. So that is the watch. Overall, I mean, GPS is great. The heart rate sensor is not too bad. The actual functions of it's very easy to use. So for those things, good. Display, not so great. And the heart rate sensor is just okay in comparison to the Amazfit Bip. So again, this is the watch I'd always recommend to anyone looking for just a cheap smartwatch. Also, the bulkiness of this one's not that great. This one has amazing battery life. By the way, this battery life is also fantastic. So they say 10 days or 10 hours if you're using GPS, and so far I'd say that's been very accurate. And I'll go ahead and show you what my battery life has been like so far. So let's go out of that. I'll go into the app that I use. So I went for a 4-mile run. You can see it tracked it perfectly. No issues whatsoever. You can see it gets time. It gives you your pace, your calories. Now this is something I wasn't a huge fan of, so that goes into the details. But that's it. That's all the details you can see. So notice that it doesn't break down any of my splits or anything. Whereas with the app, with the Bip, you definitely get all those splits and everything. This can also transfer over to like if you have Apple or Apple Health or Google Fit, it will transfer it over to that, whereas this one will not. It just uses the native app called Health Plus. And we'll go ahead and go out of this. So this is just a few different activities I did. So like I tried doing walking, and again, it doesn't use GPS, it just goes by step count. So it's not very accurate as a result, but with running, when it does use the GPS, it's very accurate. So you can see that here, super accurate, no problems there whatsoever. So you can see here our step count. You can see it's tracking your calories. I actually took it off because it's kind of a bulky watch, to be quite honest, and I just wanted my Apple Watch on once I used it and tested it out. So you can see here we have, we can turn on incoming calls. We can change it from imperial to metric there pretty easily. You can see right now it says it's connected and full battery. That's after 2 full days of usage. It's still pretty much a full battery, so no problem with the battery there at all. You can turn on all-day heart rate on or off, no problem there. And you can do the turn the wrist to light up the screen, so you can see, hopefully, there it goes. All right, so that works quite well also, and you can turn that off or on right there as well. So we can take alarm clock, sedentary reminder, screensaver time, so how quickly it turns on the screensaver, so I have it set to 15 seconds. Some notifications, so we can change what apps give us notifications. So you can see I don't really like getting notifications to my watch, and you can pick and choose anything you want. We can sync data from the watch to the phone, no problem. Unbind bracelet, clear the bracelet data, and clear the app data. Sorry about that. And then just some information about yourself. So that's pretty much it with the app. It's actually an improved app, so Health Plus or H Plus before. Not a great app, but it's definitely improved a ton. Still not perfect, but overall I would say it's improved a lot. So, all that is to say, how do we conclude this? Well, my conclusion is if it had a better display and maybe wasn't quite so bulky, I would definitely recommend this watch. But instead, I'm going to say it again, get the Amazfit Bip. If you're looking for a cheap GPS smartwatch, pay the extra $10, get the Amazfit Bip. Yes, it may not look as big and manly as this one, but I can tell you that you're probably going to be a whole lot happier with the Amazfit Bip. Just my opinion. From someone who is a runner, from one runner to another, one physically active person to another, definitely go with the Bip. If you're looking for just the best cheap smartwatch that has great GPS and a good heart rate sensor, go with the Amazfit Bip. Thanks for watching. Hope this video has been helpful for you, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.